The Left Front government was ousted from West Bengal in 2011. However, the deep scars left by the Lal Salam were far from healed, one of which was Marichjhapi massacre. It all began on January 26, 1979. The West Bengal police began executing heinous political killings under the orders of the Left Front government in Sundarbans, Marichjhapi, where Bengali Hindu refugees fleeing from East Pakistan settled. Innocent, shelterless, poverty-stricken people were evicted while being touted as violators, agents of foreign powers, and elements trying to sabotage India's integrity as a nation. However, their only crime was that they wanted to live a comfortable, secure life. Their desire for safety and shelter was met with forfeiture of life as an entire village was brought down into ruins. On January 31, 1979, the police of the newly empowered Left Front government opened fire to chase away Bengali refugees from Marichjhapi. The exact number of people who died in those shootings remain a mystery even today. Innumerous people's bodies were washed away, although the communist government claimed that the only 2 people died in the police firing. Victims, eyewitnesses, and various sources claim that more than hundreds of lives were lost in the massacre. Namaskar, I am Suruchi and you're watching Ritam Demystifies. Today we will be revisiting a very sad chapter of Indian political history, wherein brutal murders were committed by left forces 44 years ago. The left came into power by overthrowing Congress with the slogan, "All poor, homeless, hungry people of the world come together." The Marichjhapi massacre, which occurred in the aftermath, was one of the greatest heartbreaking tales of political conspiracy and betrayal of a government. The left leaders, far from honoring the slogan, didn't leave a single stone unturned and used all kinds of trickery and malice to overthrow and diminish those helpless people. The British colonists of India had one motto: divide and rule, remnants of which were left behind even after our independence. India was segregated and divided. New country, Pakistan, became a coup d'etat. Lives of Hindus in Pakistan were turned into living hell, and thus thousands of Hindus were forced to leave their ancestral land and move to India. Among all these refugee Hindu families, relatively upper and middle class people found shelter in various areas of West Bengal, including Kolkata. But the poorer and lower class refugees faced various problems as they could not be accommodated with others. Later, the Dandakaranya project was launched, under which the refugees were sent far away from Bengal. An organization named Dandakaranya Development Authority was formed in 1958 and was entrusted with the responsibility of its formation and planning. The head office of this project was set up in Koraput town of Odisha, and around 16,000 hectares of forest land was reclaimed and distributed among the refugees. The refugees were resettled in 164 remote areas, mainly in Madhya Pradesh and Odisha. These include poor farmers, cobblers, and day laborers. As the days progress, the uninhabitable rocky land of Dandakaranya, the dry soil and the scorched forest were becoming unbearable. Besides, all these people had to live with the risk of life due to the movement of wild animals in the forests adjacent to the hilly area. There were outbreaks of diseases and epidemics, and so once again in 1964, several families crossed the area called Kumirmari and took refuge in Marichjhapi as their first settlement. Marichjhapi is originally an island in the South Parganas district of West Bengal. Spread across 125 square miles, the island is located in the northern part of Sundarbans. It was considered uninhabitable by humans. There were coconut trees here and there in the forest of Sundari, Garan, and the land was full of mud and stunted plants. But the people who lost their home and land started living there by adapting to adverse conditions. Bengali refugees from Dandakaranya were escaping back to West Bengal for a very long time. Between 1965 and 1977, one-third of all the resettled refugee families fled back to West Bengal. However, in 1975, under Siddharth Shankar Roy, the Congress government's police beat them from trains outside the Bengal border and sent them back. Left parties in West Bengal were vocal about the rights of all these refugees long before partition. CPM leader Jyoti Basu and many others wrote to the government for construction of slums for all these refugees. At that time, there were also agitations and petitions to keep the refugees in West Bengal. After 1974, many leftist leaders visited these refugee camps and met them, assuring the refugees that they could return to West Bengal, assuring them that people of West Bengal are ready to welcome them. Refugee leader Satish Mandal and his companions are told that if the left comes to power, the refugees will be settled in a beautiful township near the Sundarbans. The government will not help you. If you can settle without any assistance from the government, then you are most welcome to do it in the Sundarbans and the police will not stop you. Then, in 1977, the left front came to power in West Bengal. At that time, refugee leader Satish Mandal reminded the left of its earlier commitment. But in response to his appeal, Jyoti Basu withdrew his words. He made it quite evident that the government will give no assistance to Marichjhapi people. Although he promised not to interfere in the lives of the people, even if he did not help. This came as a disappointment for the refugees who expected some amount of help from the government. In March 1978, 30,000 refugees took refuge in Marichjhapi.
বললেন না আমরা তো সহযোগিতা করছি না, তাহলে তোমরা কি করছো? আমরা সহযোগিতাও করছি না, বিরোধিতাও করছি না। তো বলে এখন সেন্ট্রাল গভর্নমেন্টের নির্দেশ ওদের ওখান থেকে তুলতে হবে। আমি তোমাদের ডেকেছি এই জন্যে, তোমরা ওখানকার বামফ্রন্টের লিডার, তোমরা যদি সহযোগিতা করে থাকো ভবিষ্যতে আর করবে না, তাহলে আমি তুলে নেব। হ্যালো, আচ্ছা বাঙালিগুলো কি ছাগল কুকুর? কারণ তুমি একথা বলছো, বেশ খোঁচে গেছেন। দেখুন, এদের বাংলাদেশ থেকে তাড়ানো হলো, কোথায় মানা ক্যাম্প, কোথায় আন্দামান দ্বীপপুঞ্জ, কোথায় কোথায় রাখা হলো। এই ছাগল কুকুর যেমন আমরা পুষি, আমাদের ইচ্ছে মতো এক জায়গায় নিয়ে যাই, আবার আনি। তারপরে তাদের সুন্দরবনে আনার জন্যে নিশ্চয়ই কোনো রাজনৈতিক দল থেকে উস্কানি দেওয়া হয়েছে। তা আপনাদের মানে আমার পশ্চিমবাংলার গভর্নমেন্টের যদি ইচ্ছা না থাকবে যে এদের এখানে স্থান দেব না, সীমান্ত থেকে কেন ফেরত পাঠানো হলো না? তো দেখো খোকা, এ সমস্ত কথা তোমাদের কাছে শুনতে আমি অভ্যস্ত নই, তবে আমি একটা কথা বললাম যে ওদের তুলতে হবে।
Gradually, with time and hard work, without any government help, these people built a habitable, comfortable life in Sundarbans, Marichjhapi. Schools, hospitals, shops, tube wells for drinking water, and innovative methods of fish farming were also built. Apart from meeting their food needs by farming fish, they were also thinking of earning foreign exchange. In just 5 to 6 months, a vast area was developed into a standard settlement. Even if they did not get help from the government, they got little help from various cultural events and organizations. With all the development work, people hoped that the government would accept the township built as a result of their hard work and give it a suitable recognition.
ডুবিয়ে দেওয়া হলো। আমাদের তো কোনো অস্ত্র ছিল না, ছোট ছোট গড়ান কাঠে দুই মাথা হুল করে ওই হচ্ছে আমাদের অস্ত্র, আর হয়তো কয়েকজনের কাছে কয়েকটা লোহার দাও ছিল ছোট, এছাড়া কোনো কিছু ছিল না। রাজ্জাক মোল্লা তখন ভূমি সংস্কার মন্ত্রী, ওনার নেতৃত্বে আমি ধর্মতলাও রাত কাটিয়েছিলাম, কিন্তু কিছু হয়নি। ভেবেছিলাম বর্তমান সরকার যিনি আসছেন উনি মরিচঝাপি বলে বহু চিল্লিয়েছে, কিন্তু কোনোদিন খোঁজ নিয়ে দেখেছে যে এই মানুষগুলো আজ পর্যন্ত কোথায় রয়েছে? দেখেনি। তে দুর্ভিক্ষ বলবার মতন মানুষ, এই বাংলার মানুষের জন্য শুনবার মতন ক্ষমতা বোধহয় ভারতবর্ষে যদি কেউ আসে তারা হয়তো শুনতে পারে, কিন্তু বর্তমান সরকার শোনেনি আর শুনতে পারে না, কারণ এদের কান বধির। এটা বক্তব্য না, এটা আমার বাস্তব জগতের স্মৃতি, আমি দেখেছি, এটা আমার প্রত্যক্ষ।
In the Rajya Sabha meeting of CPM on 1st July 1978, the people of Marichjhapi are asked to vacate the place. At the time, it was CPM's Chief Minister Jyoti Basu in the state and Prime Minister Morarji Desai's Janata Dal government at the centre. The government told the people of Marichjhapi that seeing them, others too will be encouraged to live there, and the land which they illegally occupied was indeed owned by the Sundarbans Reserve Forest. Although, according to the map, it was not illegal. Not only that, the islanders around Marichjhapi were misled and told that all these refugees have brought disaster to their lives and that the islanders will not be able to live a comfortable life, as Marichjhapi people will usurp their rights if they are not evicted from the region. False news reports were fabricated in order to evict refugees from settlements. Some reports claimed that there was some international conspiracy going on in Marichjhapi to incite communal violence. Not only that, the government also implied that the people in Marichjhapi were harming the environment by cutting the trees in Sundarban. However, when none of the conspiracies worked, on 24 January 1979, the Left Front government decided to eradicate all these refugees by a direct attack. 30 boats surrounded the island carrying policemen. All modes of communication with the island were cut off. Tear gas was fired, drinking water wells installed by the islanders were uprooted. Boats used by islanders to fetch food from outside were either busted or drowned. On January 31, 1979, the first shots were fired at the refugees. According to residents, 36 people died in the incident. However, according to several eyewitnesses and other sources, the number was much higher. At that time, the then judge ruled in favor of all these refugees. This reduced the amount of torture, but the police surrounded the island and maintained a deadlock. The supply of drinking water, one of the essentials for human survival, was cut off. The Namashudra refugees of Marichjhapi were suffering due to hunger, thirst and poverty. Gradually, the people began storing rainwater and started using it for daily purposes. Later, it was found out that the water was poisoned in the middle of the night. After using the poisoned water, the people started suffering from various life-threatening diseases. Add to that, nearly 40 young men were shot dead when they stepped out of Marichjhapi in search of food. And that is how the brutal massacre of Marichjhapi began. Notably, the massacre lasted a whole week from January 24 to 31. This soul-wrenching incident of ultimate human rights violation against the uneducated Namashudras was not a very important issue for the famous intellectual society of Bengal. Moreover, they were worried about how the supported government would come to power next time. After nearly 5 months of blockade, a final attack was planned on the island, which began on May 13, 1979. The huts of the residents were burned down, with many of them still inside their homes. Men beaten and brutalized, women raped, and the one who remained attempted to escape were killed by drowning. At least 100 to 150 people were killed and thrown into the river. After 3 days of rampage, Marichjhapi was fully evacuated on 16th May.
একটা খুব ইন্টারেস্টিং যে আমি যারা নোয়াখালীতে দেখা গিয়েছিল তাদের আমি দণ্ডকারণ্যে দেখলাম, আর দণ্ডকারণ্যে যাদের দেখা হয়েছিল তাদের আমরা কলকাতার ক্যাম্পে দেখলাম। কাজে মনে হয় যে এই যে জনস্রোত একবার করে ছিন্নমূল হয়ে এক জায়গা থেকে আরেক জায়গায় যাচ্ছে, আরেক জায়গা থেকে আরেক জায়গায় যাচ্ছে, এদের কিছু কি করার আমার রাস্তা ছিল না।
According to the official count, the total number of casualties in the incident was only 2. Although multiple reports suggest that numbers go way beyond that. We also found some hard-hitting evidence in Tushar Bhattacharya's documentary on the Marichjhapi incident. Number of children who died of starvation. Number of children who died without treatment. Number of rape victims. Number of deaths. Nearly 12% of the people who came to Marichjhapi from Dandakaranya and dreamt of making a beautiful town and living there never returned. Some died in police firing, some were burned alive or starved to death. Of those who survived, many took refuge in the surrounding areas or precariously in shacks along the railway line to earn a living. Many women were forced into prostitution despite considering it dishonorable. 44 years have passed since the Marichjhapi incident, but the memories of the past brutality remain unscathed in the hearts of many. However, no right answers were ever given into the incident, and thus the mind forgets what really went on. Every year on this day, discussions and meetings are held, but it's far from enough. No investigations were done in the matter. No answers were given. All remained quiet. Not a single voice was raised. Even today, no explanation or answer has been given as to why those innocent people had to undergo such immense brutality. The supposed intellectuals and analysts have forgotten this silent black chapter of Indian political history, a chapter in which their role might be questioned. However, today, on behalf of Ritam, we are raising a voice for those people who did not get justice all those years back. See you again next week with another new topic. Stay tuned, stay well, and keep watching Ritam Digital. Jai Hind.